Welcome to the City of Eureka Springs BOZA and Planning Commission meetings. We have a couple things on our agenda tonight. So today is Tuesday, October 10th, 2023. It is 6 o'clock. We are in the auditorium. We did a couple site visits earlier on, so hopefully we're set when it comes to our public hearings tonight. Tom, can we do roll call, please?
Yes, Ansa Lee.
Here.
Peter Graham.
Here.
Susan Harmon.
Here.
Susan Gruning.
Here.
Fergie Stewart.
Here.
And I'm President Tom Buford.
All right, so we have a quorum. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
All right, we're going to move into our public hearings. We have 3 tonight. We're going to start with 35 Benton Street. This is a setback variance application. We have Penny Pemberton here to represent the property owners. Hold on, let me get to the right paper. This is for Dawn and Tracy Carroll. Again, as I mentioned, this is 35 Benton. And this is in regards to a setback variance because of a deck that is being requested at that particular property. So I'm going to go ahead and let Penny explain what exactly is being put up and the reason for the variance.
It is a metal deck that will be on the east side or the right side of the home, and asking for the setback to increase the outdoor living space of the property. As you at the site visit saw, that it is limited. So if we could have a larger deck that would go above and create the outdoor space below, since there is not, it's a metal deck, so there's no fire hazard, and the space next to it, the neighboring space, is a large parking lot for apartments. So no fear of fire, or so if we could have the variance to have a bigger deck with no danger of anything catching on fire.
From our site visit, my understanding is that portion of the deck will match what is there existing.
Correct.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Penny? I know several of us were there, probably asked our questions already, but anyone have any questions? Okay, all right. So if nobody has any questions, then the only thing we have to do is vote on this. So can I get a motion to approve this setback?
I make a motion to approve the setback variance application at 35 Benton Street.
Second.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second to go ahead and approve. We'll go ahead and just do this individually by voice, just so everybody's clear. Kyle's out, so I just want to make sure it's very clear as to what we voted. So Fergie?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
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 Okay, so we've got a yes from Susan and we've got a yes from Ann, and I will vote yes as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses, 0 no's.
Thank you.
All right, so this is approved. Kyle's out, so I'm going to probably have to take this back to City Hall within the next day and kind of sort it through with Glenna. So just know it's been approved. We'll get you the paperwork as soon as possible.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. All right, we're going to do number 2, which is on our list for public hearings. This was the demolition and new construction of a stage at 302 Village Circle. I do not see anyone here for this particular hearing. I know our application was very limited as to the information that was provided to us. And I did have a conversation with Jacob, and I'm not going to read exactly what he said, but basically, in a nutshell, there is more information that we should have before we can approve that. So my suggestion is that we would do a postponement until we know more information.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion that we postpone the 302 Village Circle demolition and new construction application.
Second.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second to postpone the demolition and new construction of the stage at 302 Village Circle. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So any opposed? All right, so that was a 6-0 to go ahead and postpone that one. Hopefully at some point we will see some more information on this one. All right, last public hearing, which is 104 South Main. This is a rezoning request. Currently that property is in residential 1, and the request is to rezone to commercial 1. So I have Tara and Stephen Seeley. They are here for this meeting. If you guys would like to come up to the podium, and we've got your application in front of us. It's pretty straightforward.
Yes.
But can you explain your reasoning for changing or requesting a move from residential 1 to commercial 1, please?
Well, we don't live close. We used to live in Oklahoma.
Come up to the
I'm
mic.
sorry. We used to live in Oklahoma, and we've moved and a little further away, and so we don't get to come to Eureka as often as we'd like. So we would just like to go ahead and switch it maybe over to, like I said, to the commercial, to do the nightly rentals is what we're asking to do. And our neighbor, all 3 houses next to us are all commercial. And when we bought the property, we were told that we could change it to commercial as possible. I mean, we knew we had to go to a hearing and that sort of thing. But we're right there at the end of this commercial street. We're on Main. And then the house up the street, y'all approved it to be changed like about 5 years ago. Me and Kyle looked it up. I knew that it had been changed as well from residential to commercial. The Hazel Place, I think their paper, or,
I wasn't here.
yeah. So anyhow, I know that one has been changed as well. So that's our plan.
Okay, so the reason is because
We're just wanting to do the nightly rentals is the plan.
Okay, so you don't want to do anything that's available in residential 1, you just want to do a nightly rental?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've been there about 13 years.
Okay.
We've owned the house.
Does anyone have any questions as to the request that is in front of us? So they'd like to do, and when you say nightly rental, you mean tourist lodging? Because we have
Correct.
different classifications.
Yes, that's correct. Tourist lodging.
Okay, so
yes.
you want a tourist lodging?
Yes.
And we all know that in residential 1, right now, we have a moratorium in place, and we also know that we have no tourist lodging in,
It's not a moratorium. R1 has not allowed tourist lodging since 2001.
we have a moratorium, you are correct, on B&Bs, which is the only thing that's available, because tourist lodging is no longer available in R1, R2, or R3.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
So I guess I don't understand, what's the difference of a nightly rental or there's 2 different types or?
So
on the
there are
tours?
different requirements that the
Okay.
city has in place for a tourist lodging and a bed and breakfast. So those are
Right, I
2
knew-
types of
yeah.
short-term lodging.
Okay, yeah. Me and Kyle talked about the
Some of them
B&B,
have been
right.
done away with, namely tourist lodging in residential zones. There are still bed and breakfasts that are available as a CUP, but right now there is a moratorium on
Yeah.
any new bed and breakfast CUPs that are being issued. The difference would be, if you were a tourist lodging, you wouldn't have to live on site, or you wouldn't have to have a manager there. With a
Correct.
bed and breakfast, you have to either live on site, or you have to have a manager who lives on site.
Yeah.
So, and then you also have to serve a breakfast, whatever that breakfast is, whereas
Yeah.
with tourist lodging, you do not have to do that.
Correct.
So, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Seeley regarding this request?
I have a question. With it being R1, was there any consideration for it to go into monthly rental for a local Eurekan that can impact the community?
No, there was not.
Okay.
No.
Would you like to explain the reasoning, or just, no, that was never an option?
Yeah, we just didn't plan on doing that with it.
Okay.
That was our plan, yeah.
Thank you.
If not, I mean, we would just come back and we'll just use it when we can, if that's the situation. I didn't want to be tied. We rented it when we first purchased the property, but we just rented it a short time, and then, because someone was living it when we purchased it, but we went ahead and rented it to them as well.
Okay, thank you.
They stayed until they decided to move.
And we also have an email from a neighbor, John Cummings.
Oh, yeah, let me read that real
Yeah.
quick. All right, so this is an email that came in regards to 104 South Main. This is from John Cummings. He says, "Hello, Kyle. I am okay with rezoning this property to commercial. I own 2 lots just to the south of 104 South Main. Thank you, John G. Cummings, Jr." So that was our public comment for this particular application. Anyone else have any questions? All right, Susan, go ahead.
So you said you moved.
Just make sure you go
further-
close to your, pull your mic
You
close.
said you moved further away.
Correct.
Do you ever plan on moving to Eureka?
We're going to probably retire in Springdale maybe, or just in this area. Yes, that's
So,
correct.
but not in that house?
Well, we may, at the time when we retire, probably not. It's a small one-bedroom. It's just a small one-bedroom house. So if we do retire, we'll retire here pretty close. Correct.
Okay.
And we'll use the house as well.
Okay, so if we zone it to commercial, then it could be anything.
So remember, when, at this table tonight, what we are doing is we're voting on a recommendation to City Council. City Council will actually do the final vote,
Okay.
but it has to come here first.
Okay.
So whatever we vote on, whether or not it's yay or nay, it still goes to City Council for their vote. So
Okay.
we don't have the final.
Yeah, and the only question I've got, basically just because we have a lot of absentee owners that don't comply with city ordinances. So I'd like to hear, will you make every attempt you can to comply with all ordinances for the city of Eureka Springs?
Yes, that's the reason I went and visited with Kyle and we discussed what I needed to do, or I wasn't for sure. I really thought when we started all this that the property was already commercial. And whenever, we really thought that it already had been put over into commercial. We felt like it was, but there again, when we purchased it, they said it could be, so I wasn't for sure. Like I said, and then I called the county and I come down and talked to Kyle and he said, no, it wasn't. It was R1. Because like I said, our neighbors are all commercial. I mean, our next door neighbors are, they're all commercial, so.
That's the
But there
only thing
again,
I-
we were R1, so.
Does anybody else have any questions or any thoughts on this?
Well, my concern is we keep chipping away at
Yeah.
R1, and we keep taking houses that could be for permanent residences to make into tourist lodgings. I understand your situation, but I just,
Yeah,
it's-
I mean, I wanted to wait till everybody had a chance to say anything, but, I'm kind of in the same boat. I know, Peter, you asked about long-term, and, it's become such a big thing in Eureka about preserving our residential neighborhoods in those areas that are zoned, but also to continue to provide long-term housing. And, my only concern is not only chipping away at it, but when a decision is made to take something out to spot zone, because this is what this is. This is a request to spot zone in what is currently an R1 home. Then where do we go when we have a line of people who want to spot zone?
I know.
That's my biggest concern. So, anyway, I appreciate everybody's questions. Does anyone else have any other questions? Would you like to add something? Oh, just make sure you're close to the mic, though, if you do.
I just have to say, we've already lived here 13 years. We love it here. So eventually, one day, we're trying to get here. We're just not at retirement age.
Right.
And we're so far away that sometimes it's just too much. 10 hours here, 10 hours back. So, but yes, we plan on retiring in this area. But we've already owned the house 13 years. So I think that's pretty obvious that we love this place and we're going to stay here.
Anybody else with any questions? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a voice. Like I said before, this is a recommendation from planning that will go to city council for a final vote. So whatever we vote here tonight, city council can overturn it or they can agree with it. So it just depends on where we fall. So just keep that in mind. You will have to go to city council for the final vote.
Right.
All right, Fergie,
Yes.
Tom,
No.
Peter,
No.
Susan,
No.
Ann?
No.
And I'm going to be a no as well. So our recommendation to city council will be a no to change this from residential 1 to commercial 1. We've got a 5-1 against changing this zoning. Again, this is a recommendation, so you will now have to go to city council, which you would have had to do anyway. They may completely think of this in a different light than what we did.
Yes,
So-
all of our neighbors are commercial.
Yeah.
So this is a bit ridiculous, but that's
I
fine.
understand.
I understand.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and take this information back to City Hall tomorrow.
All right.
And then this will get put on their agenda, I'm assuming for their next meeting.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
all right?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that ends our public hearings for tonight. I'm going to go grab and see if we've got anybody for public comments for a regular meeting. Give me a second.
Oh, God.
Should we just do it there on that? If anybody signed up.
It was up the steps.
No. Nothing? Okay. Thank you, Peter. No problem. Okay, we're going to move into our, hold on. We just messed up. I just messed up.
You can vote during public
Okay.
hearing. This is,
Yeah.
So should we do this
I would
now?
just go on down to
Yeah,
planning
Board of
commission.
Zoning.
Okay, all right. So we're going to move into Planning Commission, our regular Planning Commission meeting. It's not going to be regular because obviously Kyle is out, and we have a few things that we really need to remove that are on our list. So if I can run through a couple things here. Our new business, which was the demolition on 302 Village Circle, obviously that's not happening. The rezone, since we've already voted on it, I'm going to take that off the list on public or on our new business. On commission business, we're going to leave number 1, which is our approval of minutes. We're going to remove number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7. We're going to leave our agenda setting. Does anyone have any changes to commission business that they would like to add tonight?
I would like to discuss the sidewalks in the historical district.
Okay,
And
so
also-
a sidewalk discussion? Okay,
And also talk about long-term rentals.
okay, so a sidewalk discussion would be number 2. A long-term rental discussion would be number 3, if we can get a second
Yeah.
for Tom on each of those.
I make a second
On which one?
on Tom's additions.
So
And
on
then-
both the sidewalk discussion and the long-term rental discussion?
Yep.
Okay, so we've got a request for a sidewalk discussion, a long-term rental discussion, and we've got a second on both of those. So that's going to be our revised agenda. So can I get a motion to approve the revised agenda?
I make a motion that we approve the modified agenda as stated.
I second that.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second to approve the revised agenda. Let's vote on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so let's move into public comments, which we did not have any. Okay. We have no unfinished business. We've already discussed our new business and voted and/or postponed. So let's go into commission business. So approval of the minutes from September 12th, which was a regular meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from September 12th.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the September 12th regular meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I wasn't there.
Okay, so you're abstaining?
I'm abstaining, yes.
Okay, so one, two, three, four. Four to approve, and one abstain. Sorry, I got to write all this down now because Kyle's not here. And one just,
You'll be-
I guess you could abstain too
Abstain,
then.
yeah.
We'll just say abstain. So two abstain. All right, and I just noticed that the September 26th special meeting was on there.
Right.
But we didn't get that. I don't have the minutes for that,
Oh,
do
then
we?
we
Or
need-
was it on there?
Yeah.
Oh, she had them both on there?
I pulled it, I got an email.
Okay, all right, so you have it. So let's go ahead and approve the minutes from the September 26th special meeting. Can I get a motion in a second?
I make a motion that we approve the minute meetings for the special meeting on September 26th.
I second that.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the September 26th special meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 4. Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Absent.
Yeah, one
So
abstain.
you're going to abstain,
Abstain.
and you're going to abstain. Okay, so 4-2. On that. All right, we're going to move down to Tom's request for a sidewalk discussion. Make a motion to, can somebody make a motion to discuss?
Make a motion that we discuss the sidewalks?
I second that.
All right, motion and a second to discuss. All right, Tom, go ahead.
Okay, we've got, I guess, one new member here, and I don't know whether you're familiar with the sidewalks, Peter, or not, but as you may know, the sidewalks in Starkville District, the job of keeping repaired is the homeowner, not the city. And when I first moved here and got on planning, I talked to the mayor about that because I used to walk up and down the sidewalks in the Starkville District, down Spring Street mainly, and I noticed the tourists were walking in the street. They wouldn't walk on the sidewalks. And we have a lot of tourists that like to take pictures of all the houses on Spring Street, which is, part of the Eureka charm. And I started visiting with the mayor about that, and the way the ordinance reads, if the homeowner does not repair the sidewalks, the city can come in, hire somebody to take up the damaged sidewalks, replace them, and then put a lien, pay the person who does the work, you can put a lien on the property then. Nothing was done about that as far as enforcing the ordinance. We did get a couple of years, $25,000 put in the budget, the city budget, to have the sidewalks repaired. The lien put on the property then with the idea that as the house was refinanced or sold, the lien would be paid back, and the city would have the money back to replace it in a fund to fix some more sidewalks. We had 1 or 2 sidewalks fixed under that proposal, and then it got complicated. We had to go to court, and we didn't have really anybody to go to court for, so we wanted to go to court, and the thing kind of fell apart. The last several years, there's been no money put in that fund to repair sidewalks. I noticed the other day, one of the cities in northwest Arkansas, they had some money, I don't know which one it was, but they had about $350,000 that they used to repair and build sidewalks out of some of the federal funds that were available. Now, the reason I bring it up, since it's it's private property. We can't use federal funds to fix the sidewalks because the homeowner owns them and not the city. And several times, we've talked about sidewalks with the city council, and there's some discussion that, well, we can't enforce the land because of whatever reasons, and so we can't really do much about it. And I would just like to have a meeting with a workshop with the planning commission and the city council. Either one, we go ahead and try to follow the ordinance that we have, or if the ordinance is not enforced, we'll find out why it's not enforceable and have a new ordinance drawn up. Or the extreme example would be take the sidewalks back and let the city maintain the sidewalks, and then try to get some grant money to fix them. And it's mainly just to have a workshop, discuss what's the best way to move forward with the sidewalks in the Starkville district, because it's a tourist attraction to look at those houses, and it's and another thing, I don't know if anybody knows or not, but if somebody falls on the sidewalks now, they can sue the property owner because the sidewalks are not owned by the city, they're owned by the property owner. And I don't know whether anybody's thought about that when they get their homeowners insurance, about, when you have liability insurance, you have a limit on it, and I'm sure there have been people that have fallen on the sidewalks to hurt themselves before. But anyway, just like to see if we could have a meeting with the city council, either workshop, discuss what to do about the sidewalks.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah.
Do you, when you looked at that ordinance, was there a date on it? I haven't looked at it lately.
I don't know I don't know how long.
Because
it's
my
been around.
understanding was the city held the responsibility of maintaining those sidewalks, and then somewhere along the line, they said, nope, we don't want to do it anymore, and it's going to be the homeowners.
Yeah, I think the thing was, if we put it back on the homeowner will fix them. But the homeowner hadn't fixed them. In fact, we've had people that have done extensive renovation of those houses down there and still wouldn't fix the sidewalks. So, I mean, it's, it's not,
Well,
it's
I
just not
think-
it's not working.
When they're, I know our neighbors across the street, they still have some of those slabs of limestone. But because of the historic district, you're not allowed to remove some of that either, right?
Well, we can even going up Benton
Official.
Street, we can go to gravel.
Oh, let
washed
Peter.
gravel.
Are you talking about the limestone that's stamped?
Yeah.
That's something that if
No,
you're.
not a new one, but the old one, the old
Okay.
stuff that's down there.
I think that if it's not damaged, the goal is to not remove it, but I think when it's brought from HEC, we've only had one or two discussions based off the sidewalk, honestly. So it hasn't been something that's come before us often in HEC, but when it does, it depends on the condition of the limestone, of the old section. We haven't had too many come up before us, to be
Okay.
honest, since I've been in.
I do think there should be, because when they redid Prospect,
Yeah.
I can't think of.
Oh, yeah,
They
9,
had
was it 9?
Nine, I don't know which
Somewhere in
one was.
there.
Beautiful original limestone. They took them all up.
Yeah.
And then they chopped them all up to use them for landscaping. So, I mean, basically, it's telling people that it's okay to take up your sidewalks and not replace them.
Okay, so I will say that, I know I read, okay, so when we first got here, we asked about sidewalks. I had probably 3 different variations of what you were responsible for. The city has their setback, right? They get that 10 feet. If you look from one side of the street to the other, one side has sidewalks, one side doesn't have sidewalks, right? Is that because those, and I'm not asking you to answer this, I'm just saying, is that because there were never sidewalks on both sides of the street? Or is it because those sidewalks were taken out? If you read that ordinance that is there right now, it says nothing about removing the sidewalk. So, quite frankly, probably they were damaged, they probably got taken out. There's nothing in there that says you can't remove your sidewalk. But in addition to that, I was told, well, you're responsible for, for that 10 feet to the curb. Then I was told you're responsible from that 10 feet to the middle of the road. You're responsible for that. And this was originally coming from individuals who were very closely tied to City Hall and/or on City Council. So I think there's some misunderstanding. I know that was it when you were on city council or was it when I was on there? They went and moved to, we could now do the aggregate with the
That's right.
Gravel,
the
whatever.
gravel
wash gravel,
topping, the
whatever.
wash
Yeah,
gravel.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a couple, there has, I mean, but that's probably been, what, 6, 7 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
That was added to the ordinance. I just don't know when the original was done. So if y'all think that it is a good idea to have a workshop and request,
I think it's a great idea. A couple of years, when I first got on the planning commission, I went and did pictures of all the violations, and I sent them to Bobby Ray and the mayor. And I got an email from the mayor saying, don't do that again. So the reality is that I think we ought to section, like we did parking, we ought to zone it, we ought to look at certain sections first, but we need to bring the city in for a workshop because it's really up to them. And I kind of agree with Tom a little bit. If you're not going to go do a code enforcement action against a homeowner, then take them back. Because recently, and there was an article in the paper, and I caused this, but anyway, I saw tourists having to walk in the street with their baby carriages in front of the post office because a limb was extending over the
I
sidewalk.
heard about that tree.
Yeah.
Way to go, Ferg.
I know. Anyway, so I said, well, here's a great looking sidewalk, but you can't use it because a tree limb's going across it. And they were stepping out and nobody could see them on that curb right there. So I called Jacob and gave him pictures and he asked the post office and they decided to cut it, but I don't feel sorry about that, but I wish I hadn't cut it that much. But anyway, the reality is that somebody's going to have to make a decision. And I'm willing to get in trouble, but the reality is that we've got to sectionalize it because there's so many areas of really bad sidewalks, and there's some areas with some questionable sidewalks, like where we have a stump, where there's a huge hole in the sidewalk right on Main Street past the main stage, I think it's called, and literally it's a hole, but no one wants to fix it because it's really, I guess that's going to be the Basin Park sidewalk.
Well, you also have to be very careful downtown when it rains.
Yes.
Because
Like ice.
that limestone is as smooth as, it's like ice when it gets wet. And if you don't have the right shoes on
That's
down
right.
there,
That's right.
it's very dangerous.
That's
If
right.
I were a shop owner down there and I had that stuff that was that smooth,
Yeah.
I'd be rolling out some sort of carpet mat or
That's
something
it.
because
That's it. Yeah.
it is slick as can be.
Right,
I've been
right.
down there
Yeah,
before.
and I did those pictures a couple of years ago solely because there was individuals living in the town that had disabled relatives that couldn't visit them because they couldn't get down the sidewalk. So,
Well-
it's a huge, it's bad. So, but we could fix it, but we're going to have to, like
Okay,
I said,
so-
got to bring them in.
You said, though, that there have been grants that people
Well,
have gotten.
last week I just saw where one of the towns, and I don't know whether it's American Rescue Plan money, what it was, but one of the towns, one of them, got like $350,000 to build sidewalks. And it was a grant from the federal government. One of those, they got all these different programs now, that giving away money. But, like I said, we can't even get that because it's private property.
Yeah.
So that would be, it just sounds like the proposal would be to pull up in the past how many situations have residents actually replaced their sidewalks with the proper sidewalks.
Yeah.
And then seeing that maybe the best proposal would be to bring it back to the city property because then we'd qualify for federal grants so that then all the sidewalks can match as it should, and then it's all level. Because if one property owner does it but doesn't level it correctly, and then the next property adds their definition of what's a qualified sidewalk, then there could be a variance between the two property lines, and that could be the issue right there,
Well-
rather than running the whole sidewalk together because
And
it's
it's
all one
also a
project.
difference in, I know that when we were on city council, there was a discussion about people, if they did replace them, they were putting in something that was, it wasn't even approved. It was a different style than what was approved. So, I think it's a good idea to at least have a workshop to
Yep.
discuss it, because it is kind of a sticking point
It is,
with.
absolutely,
a-
yeah.
And then there are instances of issues,
Yeah,
not just one
Well, yeah.
particular issue.
And I agree. I've seen tourists walking in the street, And I just looked at him and said, you know, you're in the street. And he goes, yeah, but I can't walk on the sidewalk.
Well, you
It's
know
too
the
neat."
joke that we tell our guests?
So it's-
They say, is it safe to walk at night? And you know what we say? The most dangerous thing in Eureka Springs is the sidewalks at night.
Yep.
Because you can't.
You can't tell.
You
You
can't
can't
see
tell.
them if
Yeah,
there's no
there's a-
street
yeah.
lights.
I run our neighborhood all the time, almost every day, and I have to run in the street because I don't feel safe running out on our sidewalk.
Yeah.
So.
So-
No,
So
Right.
you'll go to city council and request that?
I've wrote it on here so that we
Okay.
can see if we can set something up to have this conversation. Okay. Long-term rental. Tom, this is your discussion. Can we get a motion in a second to
Motion
discuss?
to discuss long-term rentals.
Second.
All right, go ahead.
Right after Jacob became the building inspector, he made an announcement that after the problem on King, down there on the house that burned, with the Kings down there, that he was going to inspect all the long-term rentals in the city of Eureka Springs to be sure they had fire extinguishers and proper ingress and egress and just basic safety items. And I ran into him the other day and I said, you know, where are you on your long-term rental inspections? That I have a rental and I bought 2 fire extinguishers and I put them in there and you never come by and inspect my property. And I wasted $20. He said, Tom, I don't know where they are. I said, what do you mean? He says, there's no record of long-term rentals in Eureka Springs, no database. And he said, you know, you've got your tourist lodging, your B&Bs, your motels, your hotels, your multifamily housing, but there's nothing that I can pull up to tell who owns long-term rentals. So I said, well, let me bring it up at planning. Well, he then emailed me back a proposed deal like a certificate of compliance that you would sign at the first of every year saying that, you know, you had a long-term rental and you were complying with, you know, a list of safety codes. And he emailed me just the other day, so I didn't have time to bring it to you, but I would like to go ahead and have that. And I was thinking about something a lot shorter than what he proposed, but anyway, I would like to have Glenna, whoever the proper person, go ahead and take that email and send out to y'all so y'all can look at it between the next meeting and just see what we can do to bring something to city council where we can to figure out where the long-term rentals are in Eureka Springs and you know, have a database where we can keep up with them so they can be. And I will say a couple of years ago, I was looking to buy something, long-term rental, and I went to 2 or 3 properties here in town, and there's some things that, you know, it's hard to believe. I mean, you had one, I asked the people where the washer and dryer were, and they put up a trap door in the floor and said, go down those steps, and washer and dryer's in the basement down there. Then I went around the other one and said, well, you've got to walk outside and come back into the washer and dryer. I mean, there's some strange things on long-term rentals in this town, and that, you know, there needs to be, you know, they need to be looked at. So we don't have the same problem we had down there with the King property down there. But anyway, yeah.
I agree.
I think that's something too, when I spoke with Jacob about it, it's something he's big on education when it comes to this, rather than, you know, like taking away from the residents that are providing for our community, because that's something that he did mention, is we're encouraging people to do long-term residence. So it's not like he's going to be coming and trying to, you know, go above and beyond so that it makes it harder for people to do long-term rentals. That's something that
I'm just
he made clear.
surprised that he doesn't have a list.
Well, you think
I
about
mean,
it.
I
you
guess
go
there's
down
no
to-
license then.
They're not licensed. I mean,
We
you know.
need to look and see what other cities do, because I know other cities do it. They do inspections and they regulate it, and that's about all I know. I don't know to what depth they go to, so, but I think that's a good
sometimes
idea.
if you don't, once you find out where they are and you do go in there and do the inspection, some town there, the penalty is if you don't comply, they shut your utilities off. I mean, some of them are going to that extreme to, you know, haven't brought up the code or whatever.
Well, I know when Jacob, I know when he was originally talking about doing well, it was kind of both. It was short-term and long-term rental inspections. When we met up or he had his thing up in the auditorium upstairs with the fire chief. You know, they were talking about basic things like fire extinguishers, carbon monoxide detectors, smoke alarms, you know, those things that you should mold, yeah. If there was, so to me, it didn't sound, I mean, I know everybody gets really, really worried, but it didn't sound to me like it was a a huge, would be a huge burden for someone who was a landlord. It was just that the basic safety features were there. And, I mean, we have to get inspected on short term. I
Right,
mean, every
yeah.
year.
Yeah, to get an occupancy permit, you've got to be inspected.
Yeah, but
sure.
did you get a certificate of occupancy when you did
Yeah,
your
yeah,
rentals?
But I mean, it didn't say whether it was a rental or not. It just, I just got the house
Oh,
was built,
okay.
complete,
I
It
got
met
you.
all the codes, as far as being complete.
So
but
it could have been
doesn't-
a new
it doesn't-
build
It
and
doesn't
then,
have a thing to check, is it, long-term
I
rental,
got you.
is
okay,
your personal residence. Now, the thing I'm gonna send you that the draft he's got is kind of, it may go more than you want it to go, because it's about 8 or 10 pages long, so,
Yeah.
but like I say, that was a starting point, and, obviously, we can look at it and do what we want to do with it.
okay. All right, so are you requesting a workshop, or would
Well,
you
I
like
think
to have
I'd
a?
like to just send y'all, it would normally go to, I guess, what Glenn would send out, I guess, to everybody on planning, or I can have him forward it to everybody on planning directly, or I don't know since Kyle's out, what's the best protocol to go through, or what?
Do you want to have do you want to have another, do you want to put it back on our agenda, and then that will give us a chance to kind of
Yeah,
review it
just
a little
look
bit
at-
more?
Yeah, I'd like to get it out to y'all between now and the next meeting, let
And
y'all
then
look
have
at
a
it.
copy of what our current,
And have Kyle,
if
have.
there's
Jeff
anything.
come in.
Yeah, no, we don't have anything. We do for the sidewalk, but, okay, and then
We can discuss it
we
at a
can,
meeting.
I mean, we can't vote on it. We can't create an ordinance,
Right,
right? We
right.
can't create an ordinance that,
We can
Well, I
create
guess
an
we could,
ordinance
yeah.
and take it to the city council with a recommendation.
that's what I was going to
So
say.
we can take
We
what
could
he
do
has
that.
drafted and
Okay.
look at it, and if we think it's appropriate,
We
we
can
can send
sign
city
off
council.
on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's right, yeah. So
And if we don't think it's, if it's too overreaching, we can, scale it back or whatever. I mean, just,
Yeah,
okay. All right, anybody else have anything related to that? Any question? Okay, all right, so let's go to agenda setting. So we have quite a few things, and I'm going to have to go over all of this with Kyle when he gets back. We did have a couple postponements. Jacob was supposed to come in for the FAR minimum building requirements, and then Butch still had the sign ordinance, so I'm going to have to follow up with all of those. Ann, you had B&B notification letters on here. Are you wanting to have that discussion again next meeting?
Yeah, leave it on for one more time.
Okay, and I think we need to hopefully finalize our applications, the applications that was on here.
But we did.
Huh? I thought we did too, but we probably want to look at the draft, right? Before we vote on a final
Oh, okay.
copy?
Yep.
Okay.
'Cause we
And
took some
then,
things out.
we talked about a business checklist. I'll just go over all of these, and then Tom, I'm going to request a workshop with city council for sidewalks? Or do you want to have another discussion where we read the ordinance first and then do it? Or what do you want to do?
workshop.
Just want to go into a workshop?
Yeah,
Okay, and then on long-term rentals, do you want to have another discussion here before?
yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'll figure out the agenda. I'll make sure that
And I want to add the Spring Street Parking District on the next meeting.
Spring
Okay,
Street.
Spring
okay.
Street. Okay. Good.
Peter, do you have anything? Okay,
No comments.
all right, so we're going to go, anybody else?
Do we have one vacancy now in planning?
We do,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
So we have one vacancy. Joe resigned. I thank him for, I don't know how long he was on planning.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
Was it a couple years at least?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're sorry to see him go, but we do appreciate the time he did spend here. We thank him for that. We do have a new commissioner, Susan Gruning. She was voted in last night by city council,
Right.
and she was sworn in today. So welcome to planning. And eventually you'll get your booklet so you can spend hours and hours reading through it. So commissioner comments. Ann, you want to go first?
Don't have a thing.
Okay, Susan, do you have anything?
I do not.
Peter?
No comments.
Tom?
No.
Fergie?
I want to welcome Susan to the commission, and I also, I'm gonna do a blatant advertisement because it goes to scholarships in the high school. My Masonic Lodge is having pancake breakfast at $8 a ticket on Saturday at 8 a.m. in the morning at number 3 Harvey Road. So that's kind of a blatant advertisement. But anyway, that's all I got.
Okay, and I don't have anything, so can I get a motion and a second to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second it.
All right, motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.